Today is a very exciting day. I have Nicole Burke with me of Gardenary, who you probably already follow. I would see your gardens and they are packed and full and overflowing, and I needed an expert to help me.
You sent in your inquiry like you were just, I don't know, some person on the street, right? I'm like, I don't know if this is real or if someone's like faking that they're Shea McGee. That was such a treat. So we did the consult together online, and basically Shea has so much growing space. She's got 6 beds, 150 square feet. And one of the fun things we talked about is you really wanted to prioritize flowers. So we're gonna put flowers right here in the center. That's why we didn't trellis this bed. The goal is for you to have something to cut every month, starting in June, all the way till your first frost. And then we can even transition to some cool season flowers. And then in this back bed, we're going to fill it up with herbs and flowers and a ton of veggies. I heard you're kind of into like things that are pretty. I don't know. I could be wrong. So I was looking for like
pretty too.
Yeah, so I was looking for like pretty plants that are going to stay pretty all summer long.
Yes.
Loads of squash, spaghetti squash especially. You have to prune those.
Okay, I'll prune.
And then
need a tutorial.
then we're going to do tomatoes and cucumbers over the arches. Front and back.
I didn't even realize that you could grow tomatoes on the trellis. I always just assumed you put them on the cages.
Yeah. So what this is going to allow you to do is you'll have easy access, because instead of it caged in, it's on the outside of the trellis. Great. So you can just come in, prune the leaves. Probably by the beginning of September, these tomatoes that we plant today will go all the way over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been doing some sneak peeks.
Yes.
And a lot of people have been asking about the soil.
Yes.
Which is like a very detailed question that I could not answer.
My favorite blend, I talk about this in my books, is what I call sandy loam soil. So it's a mix of topsoil, compost, and coarse sand. And then I'll add in like earthworm castings as like my extra boost to the nutrients. So I call it my 103 mix. And so this is really the composition you're looking for with a soil. You can see how if I call this the hand grab test. So if you squeeze the soil and see how it holds its shape, but it also starts to crumble. That's the perfect composition. So if you have a soil that when you grab it and you squeeze it like this, it doesn't it stays together. It's got too much clay in it. And so for the plants we're going to be planting, they need very porous soil that's going to have tons of air pockets. That's where the roots reach out. Yes. You can see there's a little bit of clay in your topsoil. And you want clay in there. You just don't want it to be so clay heavy.
So dense.
Yeah, so that's the mix. It's basically sand, topsoil, and compost equal parts. Generally, I am looking to not have little wood pieces in the soil. If that happens, generally I'll just kind of do a little rake of the wood chips off the top and then add a little bit of compost, just pure compost to the top. That's the soil secret. If you Google anything about the garden, there's a million opinions.
There's so many opinions.
Absolutely.
I mean, same thing with interior design.
For sure.
A lot of opinions about interior design. So I'll just take your answers. That's great. We've created these plans starting from this way and working our way this way.
That's right. And we'll have flowers in every bed. In a vegetable garden, I'm sure you've experienced this. It like rises and falls. So you'll look out and it looks terrible, and then it looks amazing, and then it looks terrible again. And so what I started doing is adding perennial herbs around the edge of the beds, and then flowers, annual flowers. And I did it for beauty at first, and then I realized it was actually a pest protectant. Herbs and the flowers, they produce scents and smells and textures that most pests don't like. It's beautiful. You can eat it. And it's actually beneficial to the whole garden. So it just works.
Best day ever.
Exactly.
The birds are chirping.
Sun is shining.
The sun is shining. I think it's time to go. In the summer, my kids love to pick things. And so we'll deliver, salsa to neighbors, or we'll just deliver like the fresh herbs or whatever we're growing. So if I have an abundance, then...
This is literally how my business started, is I had so many that we would literally ball them up and bring them door to door to my neighbors.
Oh, cute.
And Jason's like, I don't think the neighbors want cilantro from you.
Yeah, they do.
I was like, but I have so much. All right, so put that one right here. Generally what I like is an herb almost every foot. I do like a mirror, and then we're gonna fill in with flowers.
Okay. See, okay, I think this is like I would have not thought to fill in with flowers, so thank you.
Yeah. I know we talked about having a cottage feel. So cottage feel to me is you get hints of it throughout.
Okay.
Rather than like blocks.
Okay.
So it'd be like as you look on, you'd see a little bit of coral zinnia everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you feel about
I'm good
that?
with that?
So we'll spread these out in these beds, but then they'll also be in the front 2 beds.
Great. But I'm just trying to decide if I want all
these
these colors together, or is like the coral and the light pink and these greens and the whites and I think I like this the least
so let's
in the
do
mix.
These.
Yeah.
Let's do these. The way I figure out my flowers is like how many do I have total, and then divide it by the beds. So we've got 6 times 6. We got 36, and we're dividing it by 4 beds. So like 8 or 9 a bed is fine. Okay. So these just want to be careful when you're popping them out. I try to squeeze from the bottom and like slide it out. Kind of lay them out, and then we can move them around. But I like to put them right by the herbs. Aren't these so cute?
They're very cute.
This is the perfect size too to like, you really don't want to plant a flower out when it's all bloomed out already.
Well, I think that's what I would do. I'm like, this is the prettiest in the store.
When it's
so
literally
I have to
like,
exercise some restraint.
that's the best it's ever gonna look.
And faith in the process.
Yes, but if you can buy them pre-bloom, you're gonna get way more life out of the plant. So really these herbs, like within a year, everything will come back. Maybe the rosemary might not.
Everything will come back.
Except for maybe the rosemary.
Oh.
Yeah, so your oregano, your chives, your sage, thyme, you plant it once and you will literally have herbs for the rest of your life.
I am excited that we're doing more of a cottage feel because like the landscaping in my yard is more manicured and straight.
For me, like my style is formal on the outside and then wild on the inside.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like you've got this really nice clean structure and then you let the plants do the wildness, you know? All right, so this is calendula. This is actually what I call a trap crop. Calendula will actually attract pests.
Okay.
So that kind of feels like, what? The pests will eat it and not your food. So it's like a great thing to grow by greens, which you're gonna have a ton of them.
I would have had the confidence to do that.
You know, when you're putting together a puzzle and you do the border first. Yeah. So that's the way I like to plant.
It's like putting together a furniture plan for me.
Yes.
Like a floor plan. This is our plant floor plan. You place your biggest pieces first in furniture.
Okay.
So that you make sure that all of the largest pieces are balanced throughout the room.
Yeah.
And then you fill in with the little things.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's probably what I would have done in this case. Yeah. So I like knowing that it's a little different.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do next. So we do the border and then we'll go in with the large plants.
Yeah.
It's dig-in time. So I got this for you.
Thank you, it's so pretty. So I mean, I know it has utilitarian function, but I'm just looking at the brass detail here and the wood handle.
So one thing I look for with our style of gardening is you want really deep and narrow, because I really don't want to go super wide with our holes because we're going to be so tight. Keep going.
All right.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I feel like I need to watch you and make sure I'm doing it correctly.
Well, I know
how to dig a hole, but I feel like I feel like there's a method.
I'm actually going to do mine with my hands.
Okay.
Because it's such good soil that I can just I can go faster that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to pull like that. And with this.
Tell me with this.
I just kind of plant around it. These oregano are a little root bound, so I'm just kind of popping the roots out like this. And then I try to get these as close to the edge because the goal is really that these don't take up any space. Like very minimal root space, and they're all just gonna cascade over the edge of the bed.
Is this the right kind of level here?
Yeah, so that's what we call this is like the neck of the plant, which is basically right where the stem meets the soil line. And when you're planting, unless it's like a tomato, you wanna be right at the neck of the plant every time.
When we built our house, I had visions of myself gardening and had no experience.
Okay.
But so I put these beds in and then We moved in and then COVID hit.
When I saw that you did it, I was just like so happy because you're busy, you're a mom. Yeah. You know, they need to see someone like you have a garden to think that it's possible for them. So I think that's great.
I will say, I think that people think that I have someone do my garden, like take care of it for me.
Yeah.
And one, that's not the case, but two, like I wouldn't want that because it's like one of my greatest joys to come out with my kids and check on the growth of the garden. The kids love it. They love to check on their little plants and pick things. And well, I kept telling myself, like, the advice that I give to people when they ask me, like, where do I start in like starting my interior design business? I'm like, there's never a good time to start, and you're not going to know everything, so you just need to do it. Yeah. And so that's what I had to tell myself when it came to gardening, is like, you're going to make mistakes. Something's not going to go well, but something will go well, and you'll learn.
And there's something about gardening that people, they think of it like Harry Potter, you know, like put your name in the hat. Go buy a tomato from Home Depot and see, like, are you a muggle or are you magical, you know?
Yep.
And everyone, when that first plant dies, they're like, oh, I'm a muggle. Like, this isn't gonna work for me.
Well, I say this a lot, but I get a lot of inspiration when I like step away from my computer. When your hands are dirty and you can't look at your phone every 2 seconds. Clearly you're faster at this process than I am.
Well, I've posted a few. Molly told me I should enter the Guinness World Record, you know, for fastest planter. You really want the soil up to the edge of the garden. A lot of gardens I'll work in, they fill the beds, they've still got, you know, 6 inches below. And then you really miss this opportunity to let the plants go over. This oregano, what I do to keep it from going inside your garden is you're gonna harvest from this part to push the plant out. Does that make sense?
Harvest from the inside.
Yeah, so I always will cut back this part of the herb and to encourage that part to grow that way.
Okay.
The pruning is like your editing. It's like your way to say, like, do this, don't do that. All right, first border down.
All right. So walk me through, like, what will be the things that I'm pruning and maintaining?
Yep, so we have categories, 3 categories: perennial, biennial, and annual. So perennial means year after year, and then biennial is 2 years, and then annual is just a season. A perennial, all the herbs that we're planting on the border right now are perennials. So sage, thyme, oregano, rosemary, lavender, these all will last 4 years. And so especially if you covered your garden like in the heavy cold, then biennial is a plant that wants to stay in the garden for 2 years. And so there's less of those, but some of them are kale, Swiss chard, which you opted not to, but that's a biennial. Parsley is a biennial. And then the rest of the plants are annuals. And so those are ones that you'll replant every year. Do you know how you were saying that you're a little worried about the pruning?
Yeah.
So all plants have this thing called a meristem, and it's right here at the tip. It's a place where the plants have like tons of cells, tons of growth cells. And so when you prune, you like stimulate the meristem. You know how people say when you cut your hair, it grows back faster? I don't know if that's actually true, but it actually is true with plants. Like when you cut them, you stimulate more meristem cells, and so you stimulate more growth.
You guys, I have a vice and it's Diet Coke, so I'll just keep taking sips of Diet Coke and then I'll come back over here.
I'm glad to know you have a vice.
She's getting in there. She didn't know she wore a white shirt today, and then I would say put on some gloves. I always have loved like personal style and just like beautiful things, and I think it wasn't until I had my first home that I like actually was like, oh, this is like a puzzle that I can't get out of my head. Like I can't stop thinking about it. I fixate on it. I'm thinking about it. I love it. I'm obsessed. And I knew I was doing what I was meant to be doing. Once I got that feeling, it was like there was no stopping me. Okay, so we're placing kale.
Kale, yep. Kale, yeah.
Kale, yeah. All right,
so-
that's a joke Sid would make. He loves a good pun.
Get ready, we're just starting here. A lot of people miss this spot, the corner.
Please.
This is a money planting area because it's missed by the rows, and you'll just get tons of production from that little spot. I love it so much. All right, so now we're gonna bring in our annual herbs like parsley, cilantro, and dill.
Yeah, my cilantro seems to die quickly.
Yeah, so cilantro actually, so this time next year, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
And I'll remind you in like February to plant cilantro.
Oh.
It loves cold weather.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right, so my second book is called Leaves, Roots, and Fruit, and you could basically rename it small, medium, large.
Okay.
The leaves are gonna be your smallest plants in the garden, fastest to grow, easiest to tend. So if you're in a busy season, you're traveling a lot, just go with leaves.
Okay.
Medium is gonna be root crops. Those need a little bit more sun, a little bit more time, a little bit more space.
Okay.
We'll plant those on the outsides. And then fruit, is the most needy.
Okay.
It's like the marathon of the garden.
Okay.
Most sun, most space, most time, most water.
Okay.
For your beds, we're able to approach them from all sides. So we'll do fruit down the center. But if you had beds like up against your fence, we would do fruit on the back line.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then come down.
Exactly.
Exactly.
This way. Okay.
So I like to take my trellis and just kind of use that as my line.
With the peppers?
And I want to do about 6 right down the row. So we'll start, we could do like 3 yellow and then 3 orange.
Okay.
And then we'll mirror that.
I haven't had great success with bell peppers.
They are the hardest.
Why is it so hard? I eat so many bell peppers. I just want it to work, but no.
California is the place.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times what will happen with bell peppers is they ruin with too much water. Okay, so we got spinach, we got our celery, we got our squash. We're almost ready to plant. This is a time I actually really like this tool. So it's perfect for like, you go like this and then just slide it in.
Just drop.
Yeah, and that's the exact, and you want to go like about this far between.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So it's like a perfect little tool for that. And those, you don't want to disturb the roots.
Okay.
So you know how with like the herbs, we were like really rough with them? With the lettuces, you don't want to do that.
Okay. This is so many more plants than I ever realized I could fit into my beds.
Yeah.
It's just so exciting.
We went to Big Bend, which is like a desert, right?
Right.
And I was like, okay, these plants are thriving and the ones in my garden are not.
Right.
And the thing I realized is like all the plants were so close together, naturally.
Yeah.
And you'd have like big plants, medium-sized plants, small plants all together. And it was like, oh, like plants like protect themselves by growing near each other.
Okay.
And so I came back home and I was like, I'm just going to plant like what I saw at the park. And it totally changed my garden. So most people, when you buy a plant like this from the store, it looks like this is one plant. It's really nice and full, but it's actually 3. And so they won't all survive probably, but you want to pull them apart like this so they're not competing for the same resources in the garden. So I do a stagger plant with this celery. I'm going to go in between the peppers. You have an option today. So we're going to do cucumbers and tomatoes. What I did in your design is actually both on both.
Okay.
Cucumbers are going to cover the trellis really fast.
Well, then I want to mix so that I get that coverage,
what I
right?
like, yeah.
Okay. Like how long are we talking?
We're talking 2 to 3 months.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to train these and just kind of
find a morning where you have a little bit of time? And that's my moment to prune, to trellis it, and then like heavy water. So for a tomato, this one you can go past the neck, and they have like this lateral root system, so they grow roots off their stem. It's pretty cool. So we're gonna bury it to like here, and then all that will give you this really nice, part of what we want on an arch trellis is like really deep roots so that
they're strong?
Exactly.
Okay.
You tired yet?
I'm like, okay, putting in a hard day's work, you know?
This is fruit. And we're just going to, I like to kind of overplant them.
Okay.
Just in case.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you read the Little House on the Prairie with your kids?
No.
He has this little saying where he's planting corn and he's like, one for the crow and one for
Okay.
this. So it's kind of this idea of like overplant. I don't know if you've ever had trouble like getting seeds to come up, but sometimes the problem is you bury it too deep.
Okay.
So when you're putting a seed in, just go twice the width of the seed. This is probably like your throw pillows, I guess. Do you do pillows last or what's
Pillows
your
are
last?
last.
Okay, so seeds I do last because they'll get lost and moved around with the plants. We'll probably still fill in some other things, but this is like the beans are unique because this is a fruit plant, but mostly we seed leaves and roots. I planted, the spinach and things by Plant for You today. When you do this next year,
Exactly.
You'll start all of them by seed like 2 months earlier.
I'm gonna have to come back and watch this webisode so I can remember.
Okay, so for root crops, carrots, beets, and radishes, I use a finger rule so that I don't have to have like a ruler or anything. So 2 finger spacing for radishes. So you need about 2 fingers for each one. And then if I'm doing carrots, I'm gonna do 3 fingers in between each one. And then we're doing beets here in this bed, so we're gonna do 4 fingers. You kind of think of the shape of the final root, and that's what you're aiming to leave the space for. So a beet is about, what do you say? That's kind of the size of the beet you want, right? So by leaving that much space in between, you're giving it plenty of room to grow to full maturity. So like the most critical time is the first 2 weeks. Hand water or like overhead water for 2 weeks.
And tell me like time of day.
Morning, if you can do early morning, and then it's like drench the soil. You don't want it like soaking. For me, I'll just like spray in one bed probably for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
Like on a light, spray. Yeah.
Setting. Okay.
For these micro sprays, I would say 20, 25 minutes, maybe.
20, 25 minutes.
If it truly is a micro spray, it's just kind of going like,
yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm. Literally though, once all this grows in, you can bring the water down because they'll conserve water for themselves. These need to be really close to the trellis because they're gonna have these little tendrils that they'll grab onto the trellis with.
I'm gonna have a beet sprout up, so I think I might have accidentally.
Margo will have like, Mommy, what's this?
All right, so we are done with these back 2 beds. There's more to come. We're going to do the same thing on the front, and then last, flowers. I love these. I love the kind of yellow purple.
Okay. I looked so funny coming into the airplane the other day because I had this big bag of bulbs. We're breaking the plant spacing rules, I'm just letting you know.
Are we?
Yeah.
Because they're so close? Or
Yeah.
because of how they're grouped?
Because of just me. I just like to break them.
Okay.
Just letting you know. So if someone sees your webisode and says, wow, that's way too close, you can say, it wasn't me, it was milk.
It wasn't me.
And see that little stem
Yes.
that's gonna point up?
Do I want that hidden or I want that?
You can hide it.
Oh, okay.
But that's gonna be pointed in the,
Okay.
in the going up direction. I don't want to break them, so I try to like let them keep their original form and then just like that. So that kind of all of it has a little bit of a surface area covered.
So I would say that the biggest surprise is, it's no surprise that I love it, but I'm surprised by how much we can pack in.
Yeah. I know,
So many plants.
like 150 square
And
feet
I'm like,
is actually a lot.
I'm like, how are we gonna keep up with like eating all the things that the garden produces? Like, I'm gonna have to
Have more parties.
have more parties, I guess, right?
Everybody's gonna be like, oh, here comes Shea again with her kale.
Yep. Oh, another cucumber, huh? Yep.
Most people, what they tell me is it's actually a lot easier to tend when it's this full, which seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, tell me why.
Well, kind of that whole thing I learned by going to Big Bend, like plants really like being close to other plants. The tending you do past the first few weeks when you're watering, the tending is either pruning or harvesting. Like those are really the only two. You're not weeding, you're not fertilizing, you're not pesticiding. You're just either pruning or you're eating from it.
So, okay, I do have a question about like when to cut like some of these flowers.
As soon as the first, like
as soon as they bloom.
Yeah, so it's very similar to, it's the meristem thing.
Yeah.
So like a plant, the reason why plants make flowers is to reproduce, right? Their whole goal is to make more of themselves. And so when a flower stays on the plant, it's kind of heading toward finishing. So each time you take a flower off of a plant, it's crazy, but you're literally telling the plant to make more flowers. I wouldn't cut, like this. Right, exactly. But then as soon as these go, then if you cut here, down, you'll get branching.
So we spent all morning and afternoon planting, and it already looks full and beautiful. I'm so excited.
It looks amazing, and you were such a trooper. I mean, we got dirty. We worked hard today.
You had to brush dirt off my face before we started rolling again.
She should have skipped her workout this morning because we gave her a second one.
We worked hard. So we have all of our herbs and veggies on these four corners, and then my favorite part, my cut flower garden in the middle. So we're missing a couple of roses, and you said I've got to do my homework, water it by hand every day for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And we'll start to see everything really fill in.
That's right, because we did a lot of seeds, and seeds really need your consistent watering. Maybe in like 2 months, you're not even going to be able to see Shea in this space.
No, I hope that we're
so many plants
overflowing.
It's going to be Shea's jungle in a couple of months. Literally tonight, you can make an herb dip. You can have a spinach salad.
I think I will.
A little romaine salad.
Yes.
So anyone who wants to come over for dinner, I mean, Shea's cooking, so.
I got it covered.